Welcome back. We talk to the Auditor General now, and the Auditor General, of course, is a Chapter 9 institution that's established in terms of the Constitution to basically strengthen the country's democracy by enabling oversight, accountability and governance in the public sector through auditing. And this is something that has been stipulated by our new president on many, many occasions. And we even heard it echoed again by our Science and Technology Minister, Naledi Pandor, during her reply to the State of the Nation address, talking about the auditing of lifestyles. And this is something I think that's long overdue. But let's talk to the Auditor General. He, of course, is with me. He's Kimi Makwetu. And it is always a pleasure having you here on Morning Live. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Leanne, and good morning to all South Africans.
Yeah. How are you feeling now? I mean, every time I speak to you, you and I have the most miserable conversations about audits that are not coming through, that are not good, that things are not looking well. How are you feeling now? I know nothing has changed yet, but it seems like sentiment is changing.
No, Leanne, thank you very much. I think your question is timely. We recently submitted our proposals to Parliament for the review of the Public Audit Act, which review is going to give us additional powers to address the kind of issues that have always been frustrating to all South Africans. Yeah. As you know, over the years, we've had escalating levels of irregular expenditure. We've had escalating levels of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And that has been happening not only in the national and provincial departments, but it's been happening in state-owned entities, it's been happening in municipalities. But what has been sitting behind all of this, as we have been lamenting the growth of these undesirable audit outcomes over the years, has been the fact that no real visible action had been taken. Yeah. Now, this proposal that we put through the Public Audit Act Amendment Bill is to enable us to take those matters further, make sure that we attach accountability to one or more individuals who had been found based on that investigation to have had their finger in the till, if that's what has come out of the report. And if somebody is found to be less than competent to perform the duties assigned to them, to the extent that it exposes the financial system to wider abuse by others, that will also be taken care of, so that we no longer have to deal with the issue of who does what with these matters. We are saying the Audit Office is adequately positioned to have all the required information to provide those that take decisions to act with clear and accurate information.
Yeah. Give us an understanding of how your office, the Auditor General's office, actually works together and interacts with the budget that will be announced today.
Well, as you know, Leanne, the budget is announced, and as an audit office, we have a task to assess whether that budget has been spent appropriately 12 months hence. And our role really is to check whether that money, which the minister is going to talk about today, has it gone towards the things that the minister has spoken about? Has it gone towards the things that the portfolio committees and the rest of the institutions have agreed to? So we don't normally say much about this budget because ours is after the spending has happened. But certainly we believe that it comes with a package that normally comes from the Minister of Finance, which is largely about the kind of improvements that need to be made in the financial management systems, the likes of strengthening procurement systems, the likes of making sure that everybody is held to account for the amounts that are in their care. So that is the level of interest that we have in the budget, because it helps us to also understand things like unauthorized expenditure. Yeah. Because if it has not been budgeted, it has not been appropriated, but somebody spends it, it means that somebody is putting additional pressure on the fiscus, which means it may go against the objectives that the Minister of Finance is setting out, as he will do today.
Yeah. I want to just step back, because I feel that where you really do come in is this irregular expenditure and lifestyle audits as the Auditor General, and particularly on state-owned enterprises. And we are seeing there was a lot announced in the State of the Nation address by our President Cyril Ramaphosa, also speaking about doing shake-ups on the boards and no tenders allowed by directors or board members, and things that should have already been in place. What do you think's been delaying all of this?
Leanne, if you think about it, just looking at the issue of the lifestyle audits, it's definitely a non-financial matter. Yeah. But it is those kind of controls that need to be brought to bear among the people who are entrusted with bigger responsibilities. So if we can lift the game in making sure that there is sufficient transparency, not to discourage people from exercising their creativity and grow wealth as they should. But I think if there's more transparency, that indicates that there is no inappropriate conflict of interest, for example, with their official duties. Because sometimes if there is a prevalence of that, you end up having the likes of irregular expenditure because somebody ends up diverting state contracts towards areas where they will get a private and personal benefit. So if you look at the role of lifestyle audits, as I say, it's not a task that the audit office would do, but it certainly adds to the broader vision of developing transparency and controls in society, because the people ultimately who will be subjected to that exercise, as the President has said yesterday, are largely the ones who direct decisions. They are the ones who direct contracts. They are the ones who direct policy in respect of what needs to be done in government. So I think we are getting, from what I listened to the President yesterday, a full package of what has already been desirable in South African society, so that even those that handle money know that there are bigger responsibilities of disclosure, even in things that are happening in dark corners.
Yeah, and those dark corners is where the corruption happens. And at the end of the day, it's your average South African that unfortunately has to bear the cost of all of this. And I mean, one entity that we can just give up as an example is Eskom. And that is a big problem that is in major financial problems right now. I mean, obviously there's commissions and we're looking into it. But I think this is the example that's being set. And I think if these strict rules and regulations are put in place, it'll make it very, very difficult for those dark corners to become prosperous.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Leanne, once again, just drawing from the reply from the President yesterday, and if you try and analyze broadly his reference to the preamble to the Constitution, I think what he's saying is that this is the well from which all of us must drink.
Yeah.
So if you are running an ESCOM, or you are running a finance department, or you are running a state entity, if you drink from that well that the President was referred to, I think for all of us, the end will possibly be better than the beginning.
Well, we hope so. We certainly do. Just finally, Auditor, because I know that you very much so look at the municipalities, and that is the domain that is always a worry when we bring out these reports and we look at the whether they're qualified or unqualified reports. Through the years, how have we seen it being? I mean, is it deteriorating through the years? Are you hoping for the significant turnaround that we're hearing about now?
Well, if you look at it in the history that we have painted in the past, Leanne, there's been all sorts of things that have indicated to all of us that in addition to people carrying out their responsibilities to deliver services, there are those that also continue to help themselves to the public resources. That situation has not changed. And I think what we are seeing going forward now is more tightening of those areas where people continue to help themselves. Because as they do, and as they increase the rate at which they help themselves, somebody else suffers as a result of those resources not getting to what was planned for them. So municipalities generally, I would say, even though many councils have taken over in 2016, they are still somewhere in the area where we need to pay more attention, particularly in the accountability of councillors themselves, the accountability of your Section 56, 57 managers who are tasked with the day-to-day responsibilities to manage the delivery of services as well as the finances. And I think ultimately for us, it's not about whether you have a clean audit or you have the most negative audit, but it's about, do you take sufficient care to promote transparency in the handling of the resources and be able to report on them as instructed by the laws of the land. I think that's the minimum that an audit is needing from any institution, and I'm sure that can be achieved in the context of what I just indicated earlier.
Thank you for talking to us. The Auditor General here in South Africa, Kimi Makwetu. Enjoy the budget today, and we really appreciate your views here on the program.
Thank you very much, Leanne.
All right, it is hit 7 o'clock here on the program. Palesa, I hand it back to you in Johannesburg to bring us up to date with the latest news.